first graceful exit will be from the traditional worm guard grip. The very first worm guard grip I ever started using, it was called the worm guard back in the day. Now it's just sort of taken on kind of an ambiguous title of worm-esque positions, but I'll show you what this is right now. Go ahead and stand up for me, sunshine. So we've secured the lapel. We'll do the basic setup where I extend his far leg away, keeping my foot on his thigh, reaching around the leg like I'm throwing a left hook, securing the worm guard. So this was originally called the ringworm guard, but I'm calling this worm guard for now because this should actually be ringworm guard in my opinion, because it's sort of a secondary position. This is the central hub of worm guard setups because we can go to the left for reverse tail of worm, to the right for the newly dubbed ringworm. So just switching those things around, not super important. But this is the grip we're going to be working from today. And we're going to start with the basic sweep that I taught at the beginning of the Lapel Encyclopedia series, where we're actually going to trap his foot with our instep here, the instep of our foot like this. And as we tilt him over, there's a few things that can occur here. If I land the move super clean and I'm able to just sweep right to mount, that would be great. But most of the time, what ends up happening is something like this. I sweep him over, his knee, this knee right here becomes exposed, and he can actually control me in single leg X here. So this is the position we're trying to exit gracefully from. We want to avoid this. All right, there's a lot of ways we can deal with this. Some avoid the position entirely. Some break this position by actually passing from here. So first we're going to look at the two ways to avoid the position, which will look a little more familiar to you, and then we'll look at how to actually break this position, because this is probably the most common situation that people request as far as how to deal with the exit itself. So the very first technique will be, go ahead and stand up for me again, will be just avoiding it entirely by going straight to mount. All right, so this will be kind of a refresher. I believe we covered this option briefly in the first few chapters, but we're going to go over it one more time. So I'm setting up the worm guard here, and I grip palm down. For the new ringworm guard grip, you want to actually have this pretty tight. You want to expose a little bit of the lapel here. It's unlikely that he'll be able to use that grip to strip your grip. And in fact, if they're grabbing onto the end of the lapel, that means they're not grabbing onto you doing anything useful. So it's actually okay. So we can kind of break the rule of leaving lapel slack in this one position. I'm just going to scoot my hips to the outside of his foot as much as possible, so I'm behind him. So as I tilt him over, I have a better chance of keeping my knee above his knee. This is very important because when I actually secure the sweep position, if my knee is over his knee, he won't be able to escape to the single leg X. So how I do that is by sweeping him over and then pointing my knee and my face down towards the ground immediately, like this. And now you can see if we rotate this way a little bit, that his knee is trapped to the outside of my hamstring here. If his knee is to the outside of my hamstring, he could try and lift my knee up and get it back to the single leg X, which is actually easy for him to do if I continue to face him like this, which is the common thing people try and do, is to try and get up and get to mount, and then they can escape their knee. So what we're actually going to do is just stay face down here with my knee pointed down so he doesn't actually have an option to lift my knee up anymore. Okay, from this position, I just butt scoot into him here, and that kind of creates a leg drag type scenario of his leg with my own leg pinning it here, and then the lapel retains tension for quite a bit of time, even after I let go of the lapel. From here, I just underhook the far arm as soon as possible. That's the key component. If you reach to the collar here, he's going to start underhooking my foot, pulling it up, and potentially getting his guard back. So we're trying to deal with that immediately. By once the leg is pinned, I reach and I block his arm from doing that. Now he won't be able to underhook my ankle. I don't necessarily have to hook the tricep. I can just post it on the mat, and that's kind of enough. That'll make it hard enough. Even if he underhooks my leg, he can't lift it anymore. So just a well-placed hand can deal with a lot of the defenses he might have lined up. At this point, I can let go of the lapel with this hand, and I'm just going to reach my arm higher like I'm trying to get it up to his elbow. And that will let me secure mount in one smooth motion without him being able to set up any sort of counter offense or potentially get back to a guard. So let's do it one more time all the way through from a slightly different angle. So that will be the first graceful exit from the traditional worm.